Hello, welcome to Fine Mathematics. My name is Erik, and this is our continued conversation on executive functions, environment, and this is going to be part 5, visualizing the room and the space before you actually start to put things where they go. There's a few guidelines that I have found and learned over the years that I think are beneficial for anyone to follow. And they may be trivial, they may be you haven't heard before, or maybe you haven't thought about, but it's something to at least think about. So the first thing is natural light. Don't block natural light. Natural light is a nice, it helps the psyche. It makes it comfortable and conducive for relaxing as well as working if you're in a natural environment in terms of natural light, excuse me. If you're in artificial light, it tends to be sterile. At least that's the way I feel about it. If, you know, I hate to point fingers, but maybe like a hospital or sometimes some buildings that way, depending on what they may do. Natural light is always better, as well as you can kind of see the day transform for that way. So I would recommend, number one, don't block natural light. So wherever your windows are, think about, you wouldn't put a bookcase there, at least not for me. The other thing to keep in mind when you're visualizing your space, don't block natural pathways. So natural pathways would be like where the door opens, maybe where you might have a closet or two or something like that. You don't want to have these pathways that are kind of naturally there, like you would see maybe on a hiking trail. Granted, these are worn down over time. You don't want to do this. You want your room to be easily accessible, get to your things, make it efficient without even any thought. So once again, don't block natural pathways. You want to kind of engineer your room that way. The other thing you want to do, and this is something that, you know, this is all relative and subjective. I have found over the years, when I was younger, I did the complete opposite of what I'm going to say. Open floor space is a conducive, more relaxed environment. The room feels bigger, less congested, less pressure. A lot of people I have seen, and this is just personal preference or taste, I don't mean to point any fingers of right or wrong, will clutter the room. My father loved to grab things and pile things up, and it got really cluttered a lot of times. And then we end up picking this up, and as we get older, it can kind of escalate. Next thing you know is you're living inside of a storage unit, and that's not conducive to work. You don't feel natural. Just think about if you went to a library and there's an open space, you feel like you can breathe, you can get some work done. At least that's the way I feel. So more open floor space, the better. Put things away. Even under tables or under bookcases, keep it open. Don't stack things underneath there. You want it to be clean. Besides the fact it looking better and feeling better, it'll be much easier for to clean, much easier to maintain and put things away. And that's kind of part of the thing that we're building into this while we're visualizing and engineering our room is it's not just for functionality, but it's also functionality of maintenance, because this is how we can maintain the room. So open floor space, don't block natural light, as well as you don't want to block natural pathways. The other thing to keep in mind is most rooms will have a window of some sort, and if possible, you know, when you're visualizing where furniture may go, personally, I like to have a desk or the area I work looking out of the window so I can see outside. I'm not looking into a wall. Now, that's just my personal preference, but that way I get the natural light on me. It makes it easier when I'm working because then I have light on me. I don't have to necessarily have a lamp on me. I do have a lamp there for in the evening and things like that, but you don't want to block the window, and I personally like to work in front of a window. I want to see outside, and if you can, and this varies, but you know, you can engineer this, if you can see some greenery. Vegetation and plants soften the environment. So when you put in the structural elements like the chair and the bed and desk or whatever it may be, this is a little later, greenery softens the environment. Greenery makes it feel somewhere where it's where you want to get work done. I've even had it where when I was in a different office, my outside view was very stark. So outside I planted a tree so that way there's green in front of the window when I look outside. This all helps set up the proper vibe to where someone wants to be so they can end up doing work. Now, the last thing I want to say is, visualize the big things. Most people are going to probably have a bed and a desk in there, and you want to keep in mind eye lines. And what I mean by that is, if I'm working at my desk, I don't want to see my bed. Once again, do the best you can, because it may instill in me, oh, I'm getting tired, I need to go to bed. Or vice versa. Try and keep your eye lines separate. Because remember, if you have a room that's having dual functionalities, when it's time to work, it's in work mode. When it's time to go to bed mode, then you can shift over to bed mode. So you want each one to be maximized for their both intents without crossing the stream, so to speak. And the last thing is, when you're putting this stuff together, it's best to do it when the room is empty. I think I already mentioned this, but just kind of, you can even get like a stick or a tape measure and just kind of say, okay, the desk is going to go here, maybe this will go over here, and play around with the ideas. Before you end up, hauling all the big stuff in, play with some of the ideas and see how it might feel. I've done this many times, and I enjoy doing it because I want to maximize the room. But, if I put the bed here and maybe put the desk here, am I blocking the pathway? Am I blocking a pathway to a closet? You want to try and maximize all these things, and it may take a little bit of juggling to eventually get it. Don't worry about the aesthetics just yet. This is like the bones. We're linking up the bones together first. The flesh and the blood and the skin, that'll come a little bit later. So just to reiterate one more time, natural light is always good. Don't block natural light. Don't obstruct natural pathways from doors or paths in front of closet, things like that. Try and have greenery in vision, if you can, outside the window, and eventually you can even have some in your room. And lastly, you want to make sure that your eye lines, if possible, depending on which intent, like if you're laying in bed, sure, you can see your desk, but if I'm working at a desk, I don't want to have the desk next to me if I can avoid it, or even look right at it, because it may end up sparking me to want to go to bed. So I hope that made sense to you, and I hope this helps you set everything up. So once again, thank you for watching Phi Mathematics on our continued conversation on executive functions, on the environment section. And remember, always enjoy the process.